Good morning, everybody. It is September 9th. I can't believe we're almost halfway through the month. We thank you so much for joining us today with Ask Doc Live. My name is Rebecca Dukes Kozak. I am one of your co-hosts today, and we are so blessed to be able to have you join us, along with Dr. Joel Wallach. On behalf of myself, my co-host Jonty McCollier and Nasima Omar, we just appreciate all of you for taking the time to be empowered and to consider a healthier way towards obtaining better health and an optimal existence altogether. Because when our health is good, our moods are good, we're physically active, and we just make a positive impact wherever we go because we have such a better outlook when we're not hurting all the time. I know that I did. So one little thing that I want to read before we get started is the content of this program is to provide nutritional education information only. This program is not meant to take the place of your primary care physician. And the FDA requires us to let you know that our products are not meant to treat, prevent, diagnose, or cure any disease. As an empowered individual, you do have options available. And we are honored to have one of the founding fathers of epigenetics here to guide us with the best options to obtain or maintain optimal health, Dr. Joel Wallach. Dr. Wallach, welcome. Thank you so much for taking this time with us every week. I so appreciate you. And I know so many others do as well.
Thank you so much, Rebecca, for the kind introduction. And thank you, everybody in the team here. We got John T. and we have Nasima, also helping you on the phone and getting people in. Appreciate them. And basically, this is an anniversary. This is 9/11. Let's see, 19 years ago, 19 Al-Qaeda terrorists hijacked 4 American airline airplanes, and 2 of which went into the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center and brought them down. 1 went into the Pentagon. The passengers on the 4th plane heard what was going on their cell phones. They went and took the plane back from the hijackers, but they crashed in Pennsylvania. And so there was 2,997 people killed that day, 19 of which were terrorists. And it was a terrible, terrible event. And of course, again, this is the 19th anniversary of that terrible event. And I bring that up and people say, well, what's that got to do with health? Well, it's a kind of a benchmark at what can happen in just a few hours if people aren't paying attention. And I want to go back to this basic thing. Johns Hopkins back in 2013 first started tracking this stuff, and they reran it again just a couple of months ago. I think it was in June of this year. And they found that each year in America, the 3rd leading cause of death in America was not terrorist. The 3rd leading cause of death in America was simple medical errors in hospitals alone. Doesn't cover clinics and personal or private practices and daycare and senior care and all that kind of stuff, but just hospitals alone in America each year, starting in 2013, Johns Hopkins, very famous medical school, they said each year in America, medical doctors through simple medical errors kill, is the word they use, kill 251,000 to 440,000 patients in hospitals each year. It's the 3rd leading cause of death in hospitals in America each year. Every one of these doctors get a walk. Nobody even gets 30 seconds in jail. Nobody puts the cuffs on them and takes them in, okay? How many businesses could stay in business if they killed 251,000 to 440,000 of their customers in their workplace every year? Why is it we let the medical trade do that? Well, we have to take control because the medical trade is not going to shoot themselves in the foot, right? And so what we have to do is say, okay, what are we going to do to save ourselves? Well, that's why Youngevity came along. I'm one of the co-founders, as you pointed out, of the science of epigenetics, which replaces genetics. My thesis, my postdoctoral fellowship, which is like a PhD degree, is in the Smithsonian Institute as a national treasure. Now, as a result, okay, I have a certain credibility. I'm not saying that to brag, but I'm just saying that for credibility. My thesis, which was represented 20,000 autopsies, 454 species of zoo animals. It was like 17,000 some change of zoo animals in the big zoos around the United States, 3,000 human beings, and 20,000 and some change totally. And the bottom line was, I learned that there are no genetic diseases. There are no genetically transmitted birth defects, and that's why my thesis is in the Smithsonian Institute's National Treasure. It was originally 5,000 pages. Okay, so W.B. Saunders, the biggest medical publishing house in the world, edited it down to 1,200 pages and put it into a textbook called The Diseases of Exotic Animals. They published 30,000 of them originally, okay, in 1983. They sold for $25,000 each. You can still go online. I ask Siri about once or twice a week, are there any of these books, which is a book now, a textbook, 1,200 pages, my 20,000 autopsies, summaries. Are there any of these disease of exotic animal books available for sale? And there's usually 2 or 5 or 8 or 10, something like that every day on Siri. Okay, it'll take you to these various used book markets. And they range in price depending on how good a condition they're in. They'll range in price from anywhere from $8,000 to $12,000. This is used, beat up, dog-eared, notes in the margin and all that kind of stuff. If you can find one still in the box unopened, it still sells for $25,000. Now I'm saying that again for credibility. What made that so important? What made it so valuable? Well, nobody had done 20,000 autopsies, including 454 species of vertebrates. All vertebrates get the same nutritional deficiency diseases from the same nutritional deficiencies. All vertebrates get the same birth defects from the same nutritional deficiency of the embryo early in development. And this is where my work came in. Okay, well, I urge everybody to get on the basic 90 essential nutrients. That's our basic core program. All vertebrates require 90 essential nutrients for all of the stem cells. Every tissue, every organ, every cell has stem cells that can replace or rebuild or repair injured cells, whether it's pancreas or liver or heart or brain or lungs or muscle or bone or whatever. And then when they die from just natural death, because none of our cells live forever, when they die from natural death, the stem cells make another one to replace that one. Okay, but your stem cells require these 90 essential nutrients to pull this off. They have the capability of doing this, but they need the raw materials to make the cells and repair the cells. So you need the 90 essential nutrients, 60 minerals, 16 vitamins, 12 acids, 3 fatty acids. And I still run into people who say, well, my doctor says I can get everything I need just by eating well. Don't waste my money on vitamins and minerals. Well, that doctor should go to jail for being a serial killer, because every time he tells people that, he's killing them. And I actually have a new DVD out, okay, which was a Zoom video. It was so good. It's actually co-authored by a pharmacist who was grilling me, right? Pharmacist Keith from Louisville, Kentucky. And it goes into these various diseases. For instance, type 2 diabetes is not a genetic disease. Well, we got 5 generations in my family with type 2 diabetes. My doctor says it's genetic. No, you're all just living in the same area, not supplementing, eating the same way. And so you all got the same nutritional deficiency. That's not too hard to figure out. And so just 30 days on getting rid of all the bad stuff. No fried foods, no processed meats, no oils, no glutens, no wheat, bread, rye, and oats to maximize absorption so you don't have intestinal damage, no sugar, and taking the healthy blood sugar pack. And just say 30 days after 30 years of, they've gone blind, they've had their feet amputated and all this kind of stuff, their doctor throws up his hand and says, I don't know why, but you're not a diabetic anymore. Okay. And then we get people who are on dialysis 6 days a week because they haven't peed in 10 years. They're on dialysis for 25 years because they didn't want a kidney transplant. They haven't peed in the last 10 years, so they're on dialysis 6 days a week. We put them on our program, and in 2 weeks' time, they're urinating, and in 6 weeks' time, they're totally off of dialysis. That's because 99% of the time when doctors put you on dialysis because your kidneys aren't filtering the blood, there's nothing wrong with your kidneys. It's the arteries that are full of plaque that are supposed to supply the dirty blood to the kidneys are plugged, and they can't supply the dirty blood to the kidneys. So I learned to just, you know, when they were bringing me when I was a student in pathology, they bring me these trays of kidneys they had just taken out of people who were doing kidney transplants for. And there's nothing wrong with the kidneys. I said, well, did you get these out of the right people? There's nothing wrong with these kidneys. And so they said, no, these are the right people. So I had to look deeper, and I was looking at now at the arteries in the kidneys, and they were all plugged. So we came up with the Healthy Brain and Heart Pack, and we throw in the Ultimate Daily Classic tablets, get the blood flowing through the blocked arteries, get the blood pressure down, because the kidneys will release a hormone called renin, okay, which drives the blood pressure up to get more blood going into the kidneys. So all that bad stuff goes away when you get on these programs, and in weeks you're totally off of dialysis. I do this thousands of times a month all over the world. And it's the body healing itself because we're giving the body the right raw materials and taking away the bad stuff that interfere. Okay? And then you have another one of my favorites is Alzheimer's disease. Alzheimer's disease is a physician-caused disease. Now, there's been dementias and loss of memory going back to Bible days. That's nothing new. But Alzheimer's disease is one of 8 specific different dementias. There's 8 different ones. There's a common one, vascular dementia, where you get plaque in your arteries in your brain. You can't get enough oxygen in the brain. There's one called beriberi. It's the same thing that used to kill sailors a couple hundred years ago, along with scurvy. It's a deficiency of a single vitamin. The terminal event of this beriberi is congestive heart failure. And there's another one called pellagra, okay, causes dementia. And then there's osteoporosis of the skull, putting pressure on the brain itself, causing dementia. And then there is this thing where you have been on these drugs, these statin drugs to lower your cholesterol. Cholesterol deficiency is the cause of Alzheimer's disease. And I get people who've been in comas for 8 years, have been fed through a G tube through 8 years, these synthetic diets which have no nutrition in them, just calories and some protein, okay? And you know, these packaged meals, they just put them through the G tube. And to make a long story short, we put these people on 3 of our shakes a day into their G tube, made with heavy cream as opposed to water, okay? Then we give them the Healthy Brain and Heart Pack, 3 doses a day, and 1 dose in each of those 3 meals. We put them on our Sweeties. We put them on our Ultimate Daily Classic tablets. We put them on the BTT 2.0. We put them on the de-stress capsules. We put them on the, let's see here, the Niacin Plus, the Ultimate Niacin Plus, and so on. And within 3 days, they get up. Remember, they've been in a coma for 8 years. They're ready to pull the plug on them because they have almost no brain waves. And 3 days' time, they get up and go back to the work at the bank as a bank officer. And nobody at the bank knew who this guy was, Ray McGregor from Charlotte, North Carolina. Nobody knew who he was because they weren't there 8 years ago when he went into this coma. And they thought he was just a clever crook trying to pretend he was a bank officer to rob the bank. The point I'm making here is all of these things that are so crazy, they're so crazy you can't believe that they really happen. I want you to think of all the millions of people in the world who have Alzheimer's disease. It's a physician-caused disease because when you take statin drugs, it lowers your cholesterol. Yep. Well, 75% of your brain weight is cholesterol. Okay, the white matter of your brain is cholesterol. And also, there's no law that says you can't have 2 or 3 or 5 or all 8 different dementias. So I always treat for all 8. And so I have almost a perfect record of reversing Alzheimer's disease because I treat for all 8. And they all go away. So I just urge everybody to pay attention. Don't just go into a nursing home and get killed there. Don't just go into the hospital for 2 weeks to have them run tests to see what's going on there, and so they can determine a program. Remember, from simple medical errors. Now this is Johns Hopkins. That's not me. From simple medical errors, they kill in hospitals each year 251,000, 440,000 patients. And a lot of them are just ones that they say, you know, you have all these problems, let's put you in the hospital and run a bunch of tests, and they die before they get done with all their tests. Okay, because of all the crazy things that doctors are doing to them. So, what I want people to do is two things. Number one, become a Youngevity customer, become a Youngevity associate, which is a distributor, get our wholesale prices, if you get on auto ship, I will pay the shipping. We're looking for help because we're growing so fast because, you know, we sell through the internet as opposed to having a store. And you don't have to have a store, you don't have to have employees, you don't have to have a big inventory to run a Youngevity business. It's a willable asset. And not only that, if you want to retire, let's say you've been doing this with us for 4, 5, 8, 10 years, you want to retire, you can keep the income stream you've created through Youngevity all through your retirement. When you die, you leave it in your will to your kids. And as long as they know how to qualify it every month, which you should teach them over the years, your income stream you develop will go on for generation after generation after generation. It's not like your job. When you retire, your job doesn't go with you. But when you retire from actively working Youngevity, your income stream keeps going to you as long as you qualify it, you know, but you get product for your qualification every month. And of course, any expenses you run into as being a distributor are tax deductible. And so I urge you to do that. And of course, I'm going to go one more thing here, then I'll turn it back to you. And that is, we do have the Tesla DVD available. That's from my presentation to Tesla annual meeting in August of 2019. And the title is Prescription for Mother Earth. They actually published it, that was in August of 2019. In October, November, December of 2019, they have a quarterly publication, kind of like their magazine. They printed out my speech, so it's in there also. And it tells you how to know what's going on. The carbon dioxide is going up in the air, not because of we're having all these things where we're producing too much carbon dioxide because we're using fossil fuels. That's nonsense. That's not true. The carbon dioxide is going up because we've cut off the food supply to the plants that eat carbon dioxide. And that is the algae and the plankton in the ocean, which has like 5 times more plant life than the dry land has. And by damming up the rivers, we have 1 million dams for hydroelectric. We have 2 million dams for water conservation irrigation. We have 400 million farm ponds, which intercept water from these little small streams before they go into the rivers. We've shut off the silt, the food supply to the algae in the ocean. Now the silt is minerals, and of course the volcanic island chains are the ones that produce the reefs, and of course the volcanic ash is the food for the algae that feed the polyps and make the reefs. Well, that's why the Great Barrier Reef is dying, not because of fossil fuels, but because the Australians have dammed up the major rivers in Queensland, which would feed the western side of the Great Barrier Reef because they originated in a volcanic chain of islands, not islands, excuse me, a volcanic chain of mountains in Queensland. Okay, they dammed up those rivers for hydroelectric, and that's when the Great Barrier Reef began to die. Well, then all these Asian islands to the east of Queensland, when they started damming up their rivers for electricity, it killed off the eastern side, the northern side of the Great Barrier Reef. No more Great Barrier Reef, not because of fossil fuels and cars, because the same thing happened 10 million years ago. We have the evidence in the amber, okay, that was left after all the forest burnt. We have the amber left from the pine trees and things. That's why the dinosaurs died. Okay, the carbon dioxide went up in the air, oxygen went down. We didn't have cars a million years ago. So why'd that happen? Well, it went 6,000 years between volcanic eruption. There was no more food for the algae in the ocean, so everything died. So all this story in great detail, I'm just giving you the kind of the superficial look at it, but in great detail is in my Tesla DVD, okay, which is available for your Youngevity associate, my Tesla DVD, my lecture, and it has pictures of the maps. It shows where all the dams are and all the reefs and everything. And you don't even have to be able to read to see how this works, okay? Then we have a 2 DVD set. It's my 2-hour lecture. It's probably the best lecture I've ever given. It's 2 hours with references and pictures and everything. Also here, it goes along with the book, Rare Earths and Cures, covers 600 different diseases. So I urge people to take care of themselves, take their 90 essential nutrients. We have secret sauces for 900 different diseases. You just add them to the basic healthy start pack, which is the 90, because it's a little more of something, okay? And these diseases all go away. If you take these things for 3 to 4 to 6 months before you get pregnant and stay away from gluten so you can maximize absorption, there'll never be another birth defect as long as you don't get measles early in pregnancy. Or take thalidomide, which was a anti-morning sickness drug from Australia, which caused 10,000 babies in America to be born without arms and legs. That wasn't genetic. It was a prescription by doctors. So take care of ourselves, take care of our family, teach our kids, and you'll add 25 to 50 or more years to their life. The quality of life gets better. Again, we have people with horrible diseases that have been going on for years and years and years and years. Comas for 8 years, 3 days, they wake up, they've thought they've only been asleep one night. They didn't even know they were in coma for 8 years, okay? This is what nutrition will do. So that's why I'm always so excited about nutrition. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Wallach. And, you know, I was thinking about it because I've got a major dam here, and where they've dammed things up and they keep that silt from moving along, and, you know, where we're growing our foods is becoming mineral deficient, and our health is declining. So
well, there you go.
You know, it's like, well, mine's not now, but, you know, just as a whole. So it all just, it's all linked. It's all linked. Take
That's
away
correct.
the nutrients and everything goes downhill. So I love the fact that you've made these formulas and put them together so that we can replenish our bodies and not have to go down that downhill spiral of declining health.
Yeah, that's very good. And it's a good observation, Rebecca, because let's say you take a bunch of carrots from New Jersey, Ohio, Kentucky, Michigan, Texas, Arizona, Washington State, California, and you analyze the minerals in those 8 or 10 different bunches of carrots, and it won't be anything alike. They will not look alike, okay? So you can be eating the same formula or the same salads your grandmother ate every day, and she lived to be 112 and you died 46, okay? And of course, the valuable farmland that used to be left from, you know, one generation of families to the next, they would never sell it because it was the floodplains. It would flood every year. And of course, the silt that would come with the flood waters would go into the soil and replenish the soil. And so floodplains, bottomland, we used to call it, river bottom land, was always the most expensive, and nobody ever sold it out of their family because it always provided new sources of minerals every year, which was it was the natural way of things in that river. And so it was a very special thing that once a family acquired bottomland, they never gave it away, sold it, or whatever. It was always left in the will to the next generation. And so we have to think of those things. Just because you have lots of food doesn't mean anything, okay? Our food, if you look at the fertilizer, commercial fertilizer for crops, you understand what's going on. Now, farmers do not get paid by the nutritional value of the food they sell. They get paid by tons and bushels, right?
Yep.
So commercial fertilizer only has 3 elements in it: NPK, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. We need 60, so you're 57 short if you're just eating commercially grown vegetables and fruit and things. And because plants cannot make minerals. Now, plants can make carbon things like vitamin C and vitamin A, beta carotene, that kind of stuff, but they cannot make minerals. So if they're only getting a fertilizer for 3 months or 6 months before a harvest, are you getting any more than those 3 minerals? Those 3, no, you're getting NPK. 3, you're 57 short. And so you must supplement. And any doctor who says, oh, just eat well, you're just wasting your money, don't buy vitamins and minerals, that doctor should be put in jail for being a serial killer. And that's why we came up with this title of this DVD when this pharmacist was interviewing me, Is Your Doctor Killing You? And basically, what we showed very clearly is the nutritional advice that doctors would give steers you in the wrong direction. And when they say, do not take vitamins, minerals, just eat well, they are taking 25 to 50 healthy years off your life. And the time that you do have that you're alive, you're going to be sick and miserable and go to a hospital and get killed in the hospital.
You know, I really like your serial killer lecture as well. And I share that one a lot. It really goes into detail, you know, how the gluten affects us.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and doctors don't understand this. You know, our intestines look like a shag rug inside. We have all these finger-like villi, and they increase the absorptive surface by 95%. Well, when you eat gluten, those villi slowly shrink and go away until now you just have a smooth intestinal lining like the inside of a garden hose. You've lost 95% of the absorptive surface, and you get irritable bowel syndrome. You get ulcerative colitis. You get celiac disease. You get diverticulitis. You get colitis, and so forth. And when you look at all these different diseases under the microscope, they look exactly the same. They just give them different names because they're in different locations in the intestinal tract. But some babies are born with this because the mother ate a lot of gluten before she got pregnant, all through the pregnancy. So the baby's born with no villi. And so when the mother tries to breastfeed the baby's screaming with belly pain, and they get the skin stuff. You know, they get eczema and psoriasis and rosacea, and they're all itchy and they're screaming from belly pain. And that's because they can't digest food. Their intestines are all messed up. And so they said, well, I tried breastfeeding my baby. He couldn't tolerate my milk, so I put him on baby formula, which only had 3 minerals back in the day. And so it went from bad to worse. And doctors said these are all genetic diseases. And we're talking about cystic fibrosis, muscular dystrophy, and of course, not genetic, but certainly a terrible disease, sudden death syndrome. And Dr. Milan and I, we went to China, Qishan province, where they have 3,000 to 10,000 kids die every month in this one province from a heart attack called Qishan disease, named after the province. It's a deficiency of a single mineral. And that mineral deficiency, I knew, also caused the pancreatic and liver lesions of cystic fibrosis. The lung disease, cystic fibrosis, is different deficiency. They had to have 3 deficiencies for CF. Muscular dystrophy, we learned how to prevent this in calves. You can go into any farmer's market and go into their cooler, and they have injections of this nutrient when a calf is born with white muscle disease, which is muscular dystrophy in human beings, because when they cut them open to eat them for veal, instead of being red, ruby red like muscle is supposed to be, it's white like cheese. Okay, white like cheese. And so they call it white muscle disease. And so a farmer who can't even read, they go and they get this, they inject it in the calf, and 30 minutes later they're cured. So I started doing this in kids with muscular dystrophy in the Amish community. I was working with a Navy SEAL who grew up Amish, Marvin, okay, is his name. And I got fired from working with NASA because I said cystic fibrosis wasn't genetic. And I found the first non-human case of cystic fibrosis. And to make a long story short, Dr. Milan and I in Qishan province, in 6 weeks' time, we did 1,700 autopsies on kids under the age of 10 that had died of this Qishan disease. 35% had cystic fibrosis, 100% had muscular dystrophy, and surprised us was 200 of them under the age of 1 year of age died of what we would diagnose as sudden death syndrome here, all caused by that same deficiency. And these babies, only 2% are in bed with their mothers when they die from sudden death syndrome. 98% were not in bed with their mothers when they died. They're dying from this heart attack. And the pathologists doing autopsies on these babies never thought to look at their heart. You know, what baby gets a heart attack? And so they never thought to look at the heart. So we looked at all that. And we've sued through Youngevity. I have sued, I think, 10 or 12 times the FDA, NIH, or CDC, everybody you can think of in federal court. The last one was April 16, 2013, okay, federal court. The judge couldn't deny 1,700 autopsies data, so ruled in our favor to force the baby formulas, Similac, Enfamil, and all these other companies that make baby formulas, to put this one nutrient in the baby formulas. Now, for 25 years, I'd been trying to get it in there, but doctors kept telling these baby formula companies, this nutrient is toxic, don't put it in there. They kept them from putting it in there, and millions of babies died from that deficiency. So they forced them to put it in there. Okay, that was April 16, 2013. A year and a half later, September 13, 2014, big headline in the Charlotte front page, Charlotte Observer, kind of like New York Times for New York. We don't know why, but sudden death syndrome has vanished in North Carolina. 3 months later, we don't know why, in the state of Missouri, in all their newspapers, we don't know why, but sudden death syndrome has vanished in the state of Missouri. 3 months later, we don't know why, in every newspaper in the world, sudden death syndrome diagnosis has dropped dramatically by 85 to 95% all over the world. That's because I forced them to put that nutrient in the baby formulas. It was never genetic, and it was never the mother laying on the babies, but doctors just made that up to cover their rumps.
So, Dr. Wallach, most people sue for money. You're suing for our health,
That's
for the
correct.
betterment of all of us.
Yeah, I never made a penny from any of those lawsuits. That was not the purpose of the lawsuits. You know, when your thesis is in the Smithsonian Institute to show something, okay, in 1978, the book was published in 83. When your 20,000 autopsy data goes in the Smithsonian Institute as a national treasure, it leaves you breathless, okay? And so it's a huge responsibility to keep growing the information associated with that so people can get the maximum benefit of that study. And I cannot thank Marlon Perkins from the old Mutual Omaha Kingdom show. I had worked for him as a kid in like junior high school in the petting zoos during the summer times. And I ran into, in 1962, when I was 22 years old, I ran into that first mass die-off in America from pollution. Got it published, figured it all out. I was the sole author on that because everybody else was gone, so I got to publish it myself in medical journals, and not medical journals, scientific journals and veterinary journals. And that was the basis. Perkins took that and applied for and got a $25 million grant to do my 20,000 autopsies. So we all owe Perkins a great deal, because he had the vision to see the value of what it was I was doing. And I was just so proud of that.
Yeah, that's incredible. I mean, and the fact that, you know, your work was published, it's kind of like, hello, people, he might know what he's talking about. And then to have you so passionate about it that you went back to school to actually become a doctor and be able to use your formulas within the two-legged community and really touch lives.
Yeah, well, thank you so much, Rebecca. But it was very obvious the medical profession was not going to pick it up and run with it. And it'd be another 1,000 years before somebody would come along who understood what I was saying. So it's one of those things, if it's to be, it's up to me kind of thing.
That's right.
And so that's the way that I was brought up. And so that's what we did.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So much information to take in, and I hope everybody is listening, whether you're here with us live today or watching one of our replays. The information that's provided here is not going to change. We are nutrient deficient as a world, and unless we do something about that, become empowered, and really take a look at what we're missing. But then Dr. Wallach has made it simple. We need the 90 essential nutrients. We need 60 minerals, 12 amino acids, 16 vitamins, and 2 to 3 essential fatty acids just to be able to maintain optimal health. I love the fact that he's put it together that, you know, we can add extra minerals when we haven't been supplementing to make those corrections that we need. So, Dr. Wallach, thank you so much for all the work and the time and the forethought that went into your formulas.
Well, thank you. Well, thank you. And again, just one last word here. You know, you don't have to go to a doctor to get a diagnosis of diabetes or high blood pressure or kidney failure. You go to the pharmacy without a prescription, get these little test strips for $1.50 a piece, or like 3 in a bottle or 5 in a bottle, however many you want to get. And in 3 minutes, For $1.50, you can tell if you have diabetes or not. You don't have to pay $100 for an office fee. You don't have to pay $200 for a laboratory fee. It's $1.50. And the quartet of books, Let's Play Doctor, Let's Play Herbal Doctor, Passport Aromatherapy, and it's all in your head, covers 600 different diseases and tells you how to diagnose them, how to evaluate them, how to approach them nutritionally, and how to maximize your lifespan. Now, some of them, birth defects, or cleft palate, it's a surgical case when the baby's born with a cleft palate. But if you're taking the 90 essential nutrients for 3 to 6 months before pregnancy, there'll never be another baby born with cleft palate. So we have responsibility before conception. And just remember, your baby is 9 months old when it's born. Life does not begin at birth. Life begins at conception when the sperm fertilizes the egg. And whatever the dad and mom have been doing for 6 months before that conception took place, that's what's going to impact how the baby turns out.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I just want everybody to know that we do have a call team standing by. If this is the first time that you have heard about Dr. Wallach's products and are wanting to get them added into your daily routine, you can give them a call at 855-949-7234. Again, that's for people that are just wanting to get started. That's 855-949-7234. And if you're wanting to reorder, it's been a while, you want to, get back on the program. Because I'll tell you what, I have a lot of people that start, get feeling great, stop, and then wonder why. It's like putting gas in the car, right, Dr. Wallach? If you want to keep it going, you got to keep maintaining. So
very good. You get an A+.
Awesome. So you can get with your distributor. You can call our corporate office. If you don't have your distributor's information, the corporate office number is 800-982-3189. Yeah. But you can also go to AskDocLive.com. We have a store there that you can go ahead and plug into. We also have some information there to give you more history and background and the recording of these calls. So that's AskDocLive.com. Now, Dr. Wallach, we have people with their hands up. I have, oh my goodness, I probably have a list of 50 questions that have been written in. And then we have them here in the chat. So let's get started before we take our break.
Let's go for it.
All right. Okay, so the first one is Donna with her hand up here live with us today. Donna, go ahead and unmute yourself. You are live with Dr. Wallach.
Thank you so much.
Hi.
Good morning, Dr. Wallach. Good morning, everyone. I have a 63-year-old male, 150 pounds, 5'9". He's having trouble sleeping and he wants to try the Hemp FX Relax. But concerned that it might interfere with some of his other medications. He's non-diabetic, high blood pressure, osteoporosis. He's had a precancer esophagectomy, COPD, and muscle spasms. So I think he's mostly concerned about the valerian in the high blood pressure medication. Would that interfere?
No, not really. And basically, he's got to get off all the bad foods. No fried foods, no processed meats, no oils, no glutens, no wheat, butter, and oats, no sugar. And this is a life-changing pattern. This is not something you do for a few weeks or a few months until you feel better, and then you go back to eating your pancakes for breakfast and tacos for lunch and spaghetti for dinner, right? That's a no-no. If you're going to drink beer, it's got to be Japanese or Chinese beer made from rice. If you drink wine, that's fine because it's made out of grapes and berries. It doesn't have any gluten in it. But liquor, Scotch, bourbon, barley, whiskey, that sort of stuff tends to have wheat, barley, rye, and oats in it, which interferes with your intestine. Those villi go away. And so it's imperative that we look at this. If you look at the COVID statistics, you look at a country like Thailand, which has, 67 million people in it. They only have 58 deaths, okay? And then you look at Canada, which has about, I think it's 80, 60, 70, 80 million people, about the same. And they have 9,000 deaths compared to Thailand's 58 deaths. What's the difference? Well, Canada, they live on wheat. For everything they eat is made out of wheat, whereas everything Thailand eats is rice. And so myself, many years ago, gosh, it's got to be 25 years ago, I converted everything over to rice and sweet potatoes, so that and vegetables and fruit, and plus my eggs. And this morning I had 3 poached eggs with soft yolks. I had a couple of slices of smoked Alaskan salmon, and then I had I had rice. I had sliced tomatoes, and I had a couple packets of gluten-free yogurt, along with all my supplements, my liquid supplements, my pills, tablets, and capsules, and so forth. And I think I said everything. Yeah. Okay. And it's one of those things where I've been doing this for over 50 years. And so I'm 81 years old. Most people think I'm 50 when they look at me. And so it's one of those things where if you take care of yourself, your body will take care of you. Okay, but you have to give your stem cells everything they need to maintain your stem cells so you can regenerate and repair and make new cells and everything. And when you're 81 years old and you don't have any wrinkles, I can still whoop 3 200-pound guys at the same time with one hand tied behind my back. I only weigh 142, but I do know some tricks.
So the relaxin would be okay for him. He could take that as well as the brain and heart pack.
Absolutely, healthy brain and heart pack, the Ultimate Daily Classic tablets for blood flow through blocked organs and kidneys and heart arteries and brain arteries and all that kind of stuff. And then don't forget to throw in some MSM, vitamin D3, and it'll all be good.
Awesome.
And then he can take the Relax. We sell a lot of it. There's no THC in it. It's legal in all states. In most countries, it's legal.
Just didn't know how much valerian, the oil, was in that. Not enough to worry about.
Nope, had to read the label. I don't remember. I've got 6,000 products, so I don't remember the details of every one.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so very much.
Mm-hmm. You bet.
All right, next we have Corey, who has, I don't know if it's male or female, but age 60, 165 pounds, 5'5", lives in Arizona, has seasonal allergies, vitiligo, occasional meningeal parastasis. I'm sorry.
Paresthesia?
That one. Yes.
Paresthesia?
Yes. And in 2020, the blood labs revealed that the high vitamin D and calcium levels. Doctor advises to stop taking vitamin D. And they have been on the Youngevity product since 2016. So,
okay.
Dr. Wallach, a doctor saying stay away from calcium and vitamin D?
Well, this person needs to drop kick that. If it's Corey, it's probably a guy. And so he needs to drop kick that doctor.
So I think it's a lady.
Oh, maybe a girl. Okay. So, yeah, they need to get rid of that doctor, because when people's blood calcium go up, it's not because of too much vitamin D3. It's not because of too much calcium in the diet. It's actually because the parathyroid glands are pulling calcium out of the bones because there's not enough calcium being absorbed because they're eating gluten. So they got to give up all the bad foods, no fried foods, no processed meats, no oils, no glutens, no wheat, bread, rye, oats, no sugar. And then at 160 something pounds, they need 2 healthy brain and heart packs per month. They need the Ultimate Daily Classic tablets, 3 of those twice a day for blood flow and keep the blood pressure in the normal range. They need the MSM, 3 of those twice a day. That's 1 bottle a month because they're big bottles. You'll be able to pull that off. I'd throw in the de-stress capsules, 3 of those twice a day. Is 2 bottles a month. And that's make sure they eat 3 soft-boiled eggs or 3 soft scrambled eggs in butter twice a day.
So now she also made a comment that she's mostly with vegetables and a fish diet.
Okay, well that can work because fish is an animal protein, okay? But again, she's not eating bone soup in the morning and so forth, so she does need to take the big hammer in the toolbox, the Healthy Brain and Heart Pack. And again, when you start getting calcium going up in hair analyses and in blood tests, it's because the parathyroid glands, not the thyroid glands, but the parathyroid glands are pulling calcium out of the bones because there's not enough calcium getting into the blood. Well, I'm taking tons of calcium. I take twice what it says on the bottle. Well, you're not absorbing it because you're eating gluten. And that's where the problem comes in.
All right, thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
And I know Nasima had somebody with a question that was messaged into her. Nasima, go ahead, and you want to share that question with us?
Yes, please. And thanks, Rebecca. But before I get to that question, because I'm looking for it right now, there's a question here, Doc, for you. Where do you buy your smoked salmon? And if you remember the brand of it, that would be great too, just as a guidance, because there's so much talk about being careful of, not eating farmed salmon and wild salmon or free range salmon. I don't know, salmon that does the workout every morning. So what's your thoughts on salmon?
Okay, well, the salmon we buy is in a package and it says Alaska smoked salmon. Okay, it's from Alaska, right? And we get this, there's 3 or 4 grocery stores that are still in business, not the little mom and pop grocery stores, but the big chain grocery stores. And that's where we buy it. You know, it comes in a big package. It's like a pound or 2 pounds of this Alaskan smoked salmon, wild smoked salmon. It says it right on the label. Yeah, so any of these big stores, any of these big store chains, grocery store chains will have it.
Wonderful. I get mine similar to what you described from Costco. So if you have Costco membership, they have great wild Alaskan caught smoked salmon there too. Okay, question from Luke. It says, hello, my name is Luke. He's 28 years old. Weight is 80 kilograms, so about what, 170 pounds or so. And he is 6 feet 1 inches, so he's a tall fella from Melbourne, Australia. Has Meniere's without the vertigo and dizziness, severe ear pressure with tinnitus in both ears, on prescription called Circ tablets, which is beta histine. Is that for allergies, Doc? Which has worked well. Doctors think it's either from inflammation in the body or a C as in cat, S as in Sam, F as in Frank, leak of the upper neck or skull. Any suggestions with Youngevity products to help with CSF leak and inflammation?
Yes. Okay, the first thing that needs to be done is to terminate this doctor as being your doctor. Okay, he's just gave me an anti-inflammatory, kind of a cousin to steroids and cortisones and stuff, anti-inflammatory stuff. The giveaway, of course, is the tinnitus, the ringing in the ears. Okay, when you have dizziness and you have vertigo and you have tinnitus, ringing in the ears, both of those are the osteoporosis of the skull, squeezing the auditory branch of the 8th cranial nerves, and also squeezing the vestibular branch of the 8th cranial nerve. Now, if you question this guy, there's probably other things going on there. And he's what, 20-something years old? I don't know your mood.
28-year-old.
28-year-old, yeah. He's got osteoporosis of the skull. Okay. Now, babies are born with osteoporosis. Doctors tend to think that osteoporosis is a disease of seniors, but babies are born with osteoporosis when the mother doesn't have enough nutrition to make the bones, right? So the baby's born with osteoporosis. So I see a lot who are in their 20s and teens, and they have all these infirmities of a 70-year-old. because they're eating gluten and they're not supplementing. It's a bad combination. Okay, so get rid of all the bad foods, no fried foods, no processed meats, no oils, no gluten, no wheat, butter, and oats. This kid weighs, you say, 170, 180, something in there. Yeah. Oh, you're muted. I can't hear you.
Sorry, Doc.
Okay. Keep your finger off the keys.
Okay, keep the finger. 80 kilograms. So
Yeah. 190 pounds, 200 pounds. Yeah.
Yeah.
So about, you need two healthy brain and heart packs per month, full dose of everything twice a day. He needs 2 bottles of the MSM, so he can take 3 with each meal. He needs 2 bottles a month of the vitamin D3, so he can take 3 of those twice a day. He needs the glucogel. I want him to get 2 bottles of the capsules, so he can take 15 of those a day, 5 with each meal. And then I also want him to take the immortalium, which is the food for the stem cells to make whatever new cells they're going to make. They require certain biochemical substances to make all that happen. So he actually came out with a food for our stem cells we call immortalium. And so he could take 3 of those twice a day, and it'll speed up the healing. But at his age, the healing will be fast as long as he stays away from the gluten. I mean, he cannot have 1 cheat meal a week, cannot have 1 cheat meal a month. No. Everybody, roommate, spouse, mom and dad, brothers and sisters, all have to be drop dead gluten-free also. But this will all go away. But stay away from that doctor, because remember, each year in hospitals, doctors from simple medical errors kill, as Johns Hopkins' word published, I'm just quoting them, 251,000 to 440,000 people. And some of them are in their teens and 20s, okay? And so you don't want to be put in a hospital to have them run tests on you for 4 or 5 days, because that's when you get killed.
Thank you, Dr. Wallach. Thank you, Luke. Back to you, Rebecca.
All right, thank you so much, Nasima. So Dr. Wallach, the next question, and in fact, I have a question that came in as an email as well, is very similar. So Rob's wife and daughter both have severe menstrual cramps and pain in their abdomen every month. What is causing these painful cramps and the pain in their abdomen? The wife is 49 years old, 170 pounds. I lost the rest of it. 5'7". Daughter is 16, 105 pounds, and 5 foot.
It doesn't matter at this point.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, basically, I suspect that the mother has a gluten problem and passed it on to the baby. It's not a genetic thing, but just dietary habits and so forth. Okay, gluten. And they're not absorbing the things that are necessary for the ovaries to work. They may have been consciously avoiding eating eggs and meat and animal proteins to avoid cholesterol. They may even be taking statin drugs to lower cholesterol. Okay, they may be freaked out about cholesterol and taking statin drugs. And 95% of testosterone for both men and women is made from cholesterol. 95% of estrogen and progesterone in women is made from cholesterol. So they got to eat those eggs with soft yolks. Hard-boiled eggs won't count. If they're on statin drugs, they need to box it up with a beautiful ribbon and give it with love to their doctor. Say, I just love you so much, and I'm going to give you I'm not going to throw away or give my statin drugs, to a homeless person. I'm going to give it to you, doctor. Please use it. Okay. And then they need to take 1 healthy brain and heart pack per 100 pounds of body weight. So both the mother and the daughter needs to take 1 healthy brain and heart pack per month. The mother needs to take 2 per month. Both of them need to take the Xerafem, XERA-Fem. The mother needs to take 3 of those twice a day. The daughter needs to take 1 3 times a day, or okay, she could take 3 twice a day if she wanted to. Also, we have a woman's FX. Both of them could take 2 doses a day of the woman's FX. They both need to take MSM, 1 bottle a month, so they can take 3 twice a day. And I'd also throw in the glucogel, say 3 or 4 of those twice a day. It'd be 1 bottle a month. And lastly, vitamin D3, 3 of those twice a day, because they're ladies and they really need the vitamin D3. Even if they live in Florida and get out on the beach for 3 hours every day, but I guarantee if they're on the beach 3 hours a day, they're going to take a sunscreen, which blocks the function of the sun.
So now, Dr. Wallach, my email that came in, the individual also has or benign ovarian cysts, and lots
This
of
will deal with all
clotting.
that. Yeah.
Okay,
Same,
so exactly
it
the
all,
same. All right. So my next question has to do with apple cider vinegar, raw apple cider vinegar. The consumption of it, is that going to interfere with any of your protocols?
Not really, as long as it's apple cider vinegar. There's no white vinegar involved, which is made from wheat, right? So apple cider vinegar is fine as long as it's not 50% white vinegar from the store, okay? So you can't fudge and cheat like that. It's got to be 100% apple cider vinegar. And you know, we live on 5 acres here, Milan and I do, and we grow pomegranates and oranges and grapefruit and pears and all kinds of stuff. And so we have literally hundreds of gallons of these fruit juices, okay, every year. So we fill up freezers with them and so forth. And but we know what's in them. But we're using our bloomin' minerals and as fertilizers for the trees. When we moved in here and moved into this place, you know, we were getting maybe 5 or 6 bushels of pomegranates from our 10 trees. Well, now we get 10 bushels off of each tree because of the bloomin' minerals. We increased the yield by 10 times. And so we had to get extra freezers and everything for all the pomegranate juice and so forth. And it's beautiful.
So now that we're talking about these bloomin' minerals, I mean, that's all part of becoming empowered and taking control of your health is, you know, working on growing some of your own food. And when you put the bloomin' minerals in there, you're doing more than just adding your nitrogen and your phosphorus and your potassium. You're adding 77 different minerals, not just the 60.
Exactly. And of course, this goes back. I grew up on a little Angus farm in central Missouri, and we didn't have electricity until I was 9 years old. And we had a wood stove, we had a fireplace, and my job in the morning before everybody else woke up was to take this little bucket and that little shovel, you know, it was about a foot long and had a little shovel at the end, and take all the wood ashes out of the stove and the fireplaces and so forth, and put them in that bucket and take them outside and put them in our garden. Well, the wood ashes were not just carbon. They contained the minerals that the tree had sucked up out of the ground. When you burn the wood, the minerals that are left, you're putting them in the garden. The plants suck up all those minerals, and we ate our plants. And that's what we did in those days. Now, and that's why people in a lot of these primitive countries do better than people in advanced countries, because they're still using wood for fuel, okay? And even if they use coal, the ashes are still minerals, okay? Because coal is just essentially fossilized trees, almost fossilized trees, right? You burn it, whatever's left is minerals. You put it in the gardens, the plants suck it up, and you get to eat those minerals. Well, at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Monday, September 4th, 1882, on Pearl Street in New York City, in the bluff overlooking the construction of the Brooklyn Bridge, Thomas Edison pulled the switch in the first commercial electric generating plant. And within 10 years' time, we had 100 new diseases nobody had ever heard of before. Because everybody had given up their wood stoves and their fireplaces. They didn't use wood ashes anymore in the gardens. And so nobody was getting those minerals in their food anymore. We eliminated our mineral source that we had been using since the beginning of time with electricity. And doctors say, oh, don't use any supplements because, you know, you're just, wasting your time and money. Just eat well, you get everything you need. Well, that is crapola science. That is absolutely not true. You cannot get everything you need just by eating well because of electricity. Now, when you look at the places where people live to be 160, 200, and so forth, and this is all written up in a book, in a movie called Lost Horizon by James Hilton, a very aggressive New York Times newspaper reporter. Okay, he was an investigative reporter, and they sent him to Hunza between Pakistan and China in the 1920s because people were claiming they were 168 years old, 261 years old. And so they sent him there to see what kind of skullduggery these people were up to. And he spent a year there, and he wrote back and said, look, these people do live to be well beyond 200. The average age here is about 168 to 180. And so he came up with his book, Lost Horizon. It became such a great success all over the world that they made a movie out of it in 1933 by the same title. Okay. And he invented the term Shangri-La, which is a place where people live forever. Okay. and so that's a story, a true story of a region where people do live 2 and 3 times longer than we do. And I collect their birthday announcements because every year they have somebody, you know, who just well documented by their government, who's 168, 172, that kind of stuff. And they show them, you know, with 2 handfuls of beets and carrots and things they're plucking out of their garden at 170 years old. And I put those into my presentation because every one of us, every human being has the capacity to live well beyond 200. But if you're not prepared to give up the bad foods, if you're not prepared to supplement and make sure you're guaranteeing your cells to have all 90 essential nutrients, you're not going to live to be 160. You're not going to live to be 180. You might not live to be 75.5.
Right, right. So the minerals come in granules. They also come in liquids.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're interested in getting any of these, anybody that's listening to this call live or recorded, you can go to askdoclive.com and you will find a store there that offers those minerals. So Dr. Wallach, we are at the top of the hour. I know I'm ready for a short break. Let's go ahead and take 5 to 10 and then come back with more questions.
Okay, thank you so much, Rebecca. We'll be back in a minute.
All right. And everybody, again, thank you so much for being here with us at Ask Doc Live. We appreciate you taking the time to empower yourself in becoming and achieving optimal health. So plain and simple, we will be back in about 5 minutes. Don't go anywhere. All right, I hope everybody got up and stretched. Keep some movement going. We don't want to become stagnant. We want to get all of the muscles and everything moving in our body, even if it's just stand up, sit down, stand up, sit down. Let's get some movement going, stretch, and make sure you're drinking plenty of fluids. Stay hydrated, especially during the summer. It's kind of a crazy summer though. I know it is here. We've only had one day where we've been in the 90s and it's all over the place. If you are interested in getting any of Dr. Wallach's publications, whether they're the books, the audios, the DVDs, any of them, you can go to drjwallach.com and you will find Dr. Wallach's publications there. You can also go to askdoclive.com and you will find several of his publications there as well. Some of his biggest sellers, most popular books, including the trilogy of books that he mentions quite often. And I just want to thank Nasima, my co-host here. She has been doing a fabulous job getting that information put into the chat. So if you are on with us through Zoom and video, you are able to see that information. Now, if you are watching us as a replay, again, askdoclive.com is where you will be able to find Dr. Wallach's publications. You'll also be able to find the products that we're speaking of on this show as well. If you want to give a call and talk to somebody, we do have a call team that is standing by at 855-949-7234. So again, thank you, everybody. I want to just read this quick disclaimer one more time. Just We want you all to be informed. But the content of this program is to provide nutritional education information only. This program is not meant to take the place of your primary care physician. The FDA requires us to let you know that our products are not meant to treat, prevent, diagnose, or cure any disease. As an empowered individual, you do have options available though. And we are honored to have, again, Dr. Wallach on with us. Dr. Wallach, go ahead and unmute yourself. We have so many people standing by waiting to speak with you. And thank you again for being here with us today.
Well, thank you for the kind words, and I'm assuming you can hear me. I unmuted myself. Okay, very good.
Yes, sir.
So we are ready to go.
All right, so we have Jane that is on live with us right now. And Jane, if you would unmute yourself, you were on live with Dr. Wallach.
Thank you. I called before, and I have the osteoporosis of the skull, and I haven't gotten I've ordered your protocol, but I haven't gotten it yet. But I had selenium and MSM in my vitamins, and I'm wondering how does MSM and selenium help the structure of the body? I found it already helps.
Okay, good. Well, the MSM has many different things in it, but the primary issue, as the name implies, MSM has sulfur compounds in it. Sulfur is a requirement for your bones. You know, your bones require all 90 essential nutrients, and one of the things that are necessary, particularly for connective tissue like tendons and ligaments and cartilage, is the sulfur, okay, which is in the MSM. And then the selenium, our selenium, of course, has 5 different cofactors added to it. It's not just selenium like you would buy at Walgreens or something like that. So it's totally different. So if you're talking about our selenium, it does have things in it that are necessary to grow connective tissue, again, like cartilage, ligaments, tendons, skin, artery walls, and things like that. So that it may not be the selenium. If it's our selenium, it may not be the selenium, but maybe one of those other cofactors in there that are helping you feel benefit already. But the skull has a great blood supply. It is very responsive to correcting the diet, getting rid of the bad stuff, and maximizing absorption and taking the supplements. So the fact that you've seen some benefit already,
Great.
That's beautiful. And so when you get the full program going, please do call us every 2 weeks and give us a progress report, because you're going to be, how old are you, dear?
I'm 78. I weigh 120, and I'm 4'10".
Okay, now the reason I'm asking that is because I want people to know that, you know, even if you're 78 years old, you take these supplements and you can rebuild your bones. If you have osteoporosis, you can rebuild your bones, and the symptoms of tinnitus, ringing in the ears, and dizziness go away. And so that means that, you know, remember there's 12 pairs of cranial nerves in your spinal cord all come out of the skull, and every one of them gets pinched, and you can get 25 different diseases. You're going to neurologists, you go to orthopedic doctors, and you go to internists, you go to ear doctors, you go to dentists, and you go to eye doctors, and so forth. And really it's all just osteoporosis of the skull. So you're going to see an enormous amount of benefit. Your hair color will go back to more normal. Okay, white hair is a deficiency of one of those nutrients that are required by your bones. Also, your arteries require that nutrient. And do you have varicose veins in your legs?
No, I don't.
Okay,
That's
good.
the only thing I don't have.
Okay, good.
But
Okay,
I have trouble walking. In other words, my body gets unhitched when I'm walking, and so I get pain lower down on the left side, on that side with the tinnitus.
Yeah. Okay, well, that'll all go away.
Okay.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Wallach. Now, I just want to say one thing. Dr. Wallach mentioned in the beginning of this call about how somebody who's interested in health, interested in promoting nutrition more to help address optimal health, well, create optimal health, actually, you can become a distributor. And right now, Youngevity has their convention going on.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that I love about our convention is we're like a family. We come together, we cheer each other on, we're very supportive of each other. The company as a whole, it doesn't matter who you're under. If you've got questions and you need help, we've got places you can plug into where the leaders are just fabulous in helping to provide just a community where we are all seriously working together. So I'm so excited about the convention. And for those of you who are distributors and being on here, thank you for joining us. I'm glad that they're recording it so you can watch and not miss anything. So next, Dr. Wallach, we have Robert, who is already unmuted. And Robert, you are on live with Dr. Wallach.
Thank you. 160 pounds, 5'9", 65 years old, fatigue, huge belly, enlarged red blood cells, tinnitus, toenail fungus. I'm sensitive to eggs. My naturopath said the gluten-free diet wasn't helping.
Okay. Well, basically, you want to read, there are no such things, for instance, as gluten-free oats. He goes, well, I pay extra for gluten-free oats. Well, there is no such thing. And anybody who sells gluten-free oats should be put in jail for fraud, maybe even manslaughter, because people will die if they're eating gluten-free oats, because there is no such thing as gluten-free oats. They will not absorb. And I have some people who really are very good about totally avoiding gluten, but they live in a household where their spouse or their mom or dad or their kids all eat gluten, and they're getting cross-contaminated in the laundry. The dog and cat are eating gluten. They have oats in their dry dog and cat food. And so the food preparation surfaces, the couches, the rugs, the beds, every place is just saturated with gluten. And so even though you may not be eating gluten, you want to check your environment, who you're living with, and the dogs and cats. And, do you work in a bakery? Do you work in a restaurant? All those things count. Even though you're not eating this stuff, you're getting contaminated with it, okay? So you really have to clean up your environment. I mean, really clean it up. And let's see here. I got a little bit of you had tinnitus, you said. Is that correct?
Tinnitus, enlarged red blood cells.
Mm-hmm.
My belly is huge. It looks like I'm going to give.
Yeah, well, this usually goes along with gluten intolerance, okay, when you have, because your intestines and your stomach doesn't work perfectly. And is that gray hair I see on your head, white or gray hair?
I've been blonde all my life, so it's I don't know if it's changing color.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and so basically, dental problems, gradual loss of vision. It's called ONA, optic nerve atrophy, because the skull is squeezing the optic nerve. All of these things are happening because of osteoporosis of the skull. When you get osteoporosis of the skull, you also get osteoporosis of your shoulders and your hips and your knees and your long bones and your pelvis and your vertebrae and so forth. And so I like people to, guy your size, I'd have you take 2 healthy brain and heart packs per month, 2 healthy brain and heart packs per month, the full dose, everything twice a day. The MSM, go ahead and take 3 of those twice a day as 1 bottle a month. That's going to help support maintenance repair, cartilage, ligaments, tendons, connective tissue, disc between vertebrae, bone, makes bone itself. And then the vitamin D3, 3 of those twice a day. Also, that's 2 bottles a month. Then the glucogel, take 5 of those 3 times a day. It's 2 bottles a month. And then I want you to also throw in the ultimate enzymes, because you're having lots of stomach issues. So once you throw in the ultimate enzymes, you could take 2 of those, say 2 to 5 minutes before each meal with a couple ounces of water. Our ultimate enzyme is called the gallbladder in a bottle, because it does have bile salts in it, so it helps you deal with fat in your diet. Also, it has stomach acid to help you prevent gas being formed. Gas and reflux in the stomach is not caused by acid reflux. It's caused by a lack of acid reflux. Okay, if salting your food heavily, and we have a beautiful pink Himalayan salt. We have a pink Himalayan salt with black pepper ground up in it also. Has 84 minerals in it. And salt is required for its chief cells in your stomach to make stomach acid, when you have stomach acid, your stomach is sterile and you don't get bloating and gas and stomach pain. Okay. Sometimes you can also get gastroparesis, which is pain in your stomach caused by a squeezing of the 10th cranial nerve, the vagus nerve, which comes out of the skull, causes osteoporosis of the skull. Do you ever get hiccups?
No.
Okay, good. All right. So let's go there. And then, call us every couple of weeks because you have a fairly typical story of a, middle-aged white guy. And so it's one of those things where your progress will be a source of great hope for a lot of people out there.
Would you mention
Okay.
fungal infection?
I'm sorry?
Would you mention what is fungal infection? Systemic fungal problems?
Okay, now is that what your doctor said you have?
They note the toenail fungus and they don't talk anymore about it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, anytime you have fungus infection in your skin, whether it's the toenails, between the toes, your elbows, or in your throat, where it might be, or your sinuses, it's a sign that your immune system isn't working at 100% because fungus is a opportunist. It's not strong enough to get you by itself, so you have to have your immune system down before a fungus can jump on you. When it comes to toenail fungus and fungus in your toes and your skin, well, it could be a misinterpretation of gluten. If you have a gluten problem, you're going to get eczema, dermatitis, psoriasis, dry, itchy skin, rosacea, that kind of stuff. Irritable bowel syndrome, inflammatory bowel disease, you get Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis, diverticulitis, all that stuff goes along with gluten, okay? And so you can also use our colloidal silver, okay? Use our colloidal silver, put a couple of droppers full of that in a small spray bottle with, say, 2 ounces of water, and then spray that, or you can even put it in something that has our skin disinfectant in it, and mix those two together, the skin disinfectant and the colloidal silver. And that will kill any toenail fungus and fungus between your toenails if you truly have some skin fungus. But oftentimes it's really an eczema and doctors misinterpret it as a skin fungus.
Thank you, sir.
You bet. Keep in touch. Okay, back to you, Rebecca.
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Wallach. Again, for existing Youngevity customers or distributors, please give our corporate office a call or call your distributor to place an order. You can reach the corporate office at 800-982-3189. And even if you don't know what your account number is, Youngevity can look you up. Our corporate office is able to look you up and get your information. I love how they keep your order history all together so that whenever you call and say, I need to order what I ordered last time, it can be easily pulled and taken care of for you. Now, Dr. Wallach, we have a question, and the question is simply, how do you decrease the size of your prostate gland?
Okay, well, benign enlargement of prostate gland goes along with the same thing that happens with your thyroid. When your thyroid is deficient in things it needs, it gets bigger, trying to make up for lack of function with more thyroid cells, okay? So again, you got to get rid of all the bad foods to maximize absorption. No fried foods, no processed meats, no oils, no glutens, no wheat bread or rye, no sugar. And then per 100 pounds of body weight, it'd be one healthy brain and heart pack. There's a lot of things in there that are required by the prostate gland. But also we have a product called ProstFX. And you could take 3 of those twice a day per 100 pounds of body weight. And it has nutrients and herbs in it that support the function of the prostate gland. And so benign enlargement of the prostate gland goes away very quickly, usually within, say, 2 to 6 weeks when you're on that. And I take ProstFX myself. I'm 81 years old, and I take it just because I'm 81 years old. And I don't have any problems in those areas. My prostate gland's a normal size. I don't have any excessive urination. I don't have to use a catheter because I don't have anything blocked. And so I can testify from my own personal use that by adding the ProstFX, and of course I do take also, I take the Zera test. I take 3 of those twice a day, along with my 3 soft yolked eggs twice a day. Make sure I'm getting plenty of cholesterol. so that I make plenty of testosterone. Testosterone is also very useful for keeping your prostate in happiness and health. And so that's why I do both. I do the ProstFX, and I also do the Zera test.
Awesome. So now we have, let's go to the other gender, and she is just turned 51 in June, 5'4", 160 pounds. And it looks like she says it looks like she's starting menopause. What do you recommend to help regulate her hormones during this time?
Okay, well, again, we got to make sure she's absorbing nutrients, because the ovaries require nutrition to make hormones and function. So she's got to get rid of all the bad stuff and maximize absorption. No fried foods, no processed meats, no oils, no glutens, no wheat, bread, or no sugar. Everybody in the household, dog, cat, bird, fish, spouse, renter, roommate, mom, dad, kids, etc. Then you said she weighed 160 pounds?
160.
Yeah, okay. Then I'd have her take 2 healthy brain and heart packs per month, a full dose everything twice a day. I'd also have her take the MSM, 3 of those twice a day, is 1 bottle a month. Vitamin D3, 3 of those twice a day, is 2 bottles a month. I'd also have her throw in the Woman's FX. She go ahead and take 2 doses of the Woman's FX a day, 1 at breakfast, 1 at dinner time. I'd also have her take the Xerafem, XERA-FEM. She can take 3 of those twice a day. And that's going to give her ovaries the raw materials to make proper amounts of estrogen and progesterone, as long as she's getting those eggs. Because remember, testosterone for women, estrogen and progesterone for women all require cholesterol to make the hormones.
Yeah, it's incredible how everything is just linked.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. So Rob has his hand up, and I know we answered a question from him before. So we'll see. Rob, did you have another question for Dr. Wallach? Go ahead and unmute yourself.
No, Dr. Wallach, I'm good. I should have took my hand down, but thanks for answering my questions earlier.
Okay, you bet. Okay.
No worries. Thank you, Rob. All right. Next, let's go to Christine with her hand up. Christine, go ahead and unmute yourself. You are on live with Dr. Wallach.
Thank you. Hi, Dr. Wallach.
Hi.
Yeah, I have a client with these issues. He's 147 pounds, 42 years old. The major problem is bleeding and receding gums.
Okay.
Yeah, what would you recommend?
Okay, well, bleeding and receding gums goes along with osteoporosis of the skull. You have reduction of bone mass in the skull. And so the receding gums is because as the support mechanism, which is the jaw bone and the facial bones, shrink, that means that the gums are shrinking now. And of course, the teeth can get loose because the sockets that the teeth are sitting in are getting bigger, so the teeth begin to get loose. And you're going to get some bleeding when you brush and stuff like that. So this individual, and you see, say they weigh
47 pounds.
147, okay. One healthy brain and heart pack per month. One healthy brain and heart pack per month. Get another bottle of selenium. 1 bottle of selenium comes with that. So they could take 3 selenium twice a day. A half a dose of everything else at breakfast, half a dose of everything else at dinner time. I would also have them take 6 of our MSM per day. That's 2 with each meal, or 3 twice a day. That's 1 bottle a month. They also need vitamin D3, 3 of those twice a day. Also need the glucogel. I'd go ahead and get 1 bottle of the capsules, or 2 bottles of the liquid. And 2 bottles of liquid, they could take 1 ounce of the liquid twice a day, or 1 bottle of capsules, they could take 5 twice a day. And actually, the skull will rebuild itself. The skull has an enormous capacity to rebuild. And of course, we see the same thing in kids that are teenagers and they have to go to the orthodontist. You know, their teeth are all clumping up in one area or rotating or moving around. That's because they have osteoporosis of the skull already. And so they need to be put on the same programs. And we can, you know, eliminate the need for orthodontists in most cases, or make their visits to orthodontists when they have all these problems more beneficial. Because when you put these braces on, if you're giving them the nutrients, then when they move the teeth in the right position, then they'll stay there because the skull and the jawbone will tighten up around them properly. Okay.
Okay, okay. Thank you. Another question. I have a daughter, 10 years old. She's weighing 83.77 and very allergic to cold. Whenever she gets up and find cold AC, she starts sneezing or dust. She sneezes a lot.
Okay, now are you saying cold, C-O-L-D, cold, like cold air?
Yeah, cold weather or AC, cold AC or dust, anything of the sort, she starts sneezing so much.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, yeah, so what we need to do is make sure, again, she's avoiding all the bad foods, no fried foods, no processed meats, no oils, no gluten, no wheat, butter, inos, no sugar. And then, again, I apologize, what does she weigh?
83.77 pounds.
Okay, so 83
83.
pounds.
Yeah.
83 pounds, okay. Yeah, so she needs one healthy brain and heart pack per month, a half a dose, everything twice a day.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. I would also have her take some of our anti-inflammatory stuff, okay? She could take something like our pollen burst. She could take 2 doses of that a day. She could take our Cell Shield RTQ, 2 doses of that a day. But if she's active, I want her to use our Rebound sports drink with 100 nutrients in it instead of soft drinks. You know, no Coca-Cola, no 7-Up, and none of that kind of stuff. But she can use our sports drink with 100 nutrients in it, including 78 minerals. And so we want to give her these nutrients because they're what makes all her tissues, her liver and her lungs and her heart and her muscles all work properly and maintain body temperature properly and so forth. Okay?
Okay. Okay, thank you.
You bet.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And again, if anybody is interested in getting any of the products that you hear mentioned today here, hold on.
Yeah, you need to block those people.
All right, we got her muted. She was just going back over what she said, so she knows what to order. So we'll make sure that she gets that information. And Nasima brought up a really good point is, you know, you can listen here, and then Jonty is so awesome about getting these recordings up on askdoclive.com fairly quickly when he's not evacuated from his home. So you can go back and listen to these recordings. You can press stop, replay, all those things that you need to do in order to get the protocols that Dr. Wallach is mentioning here today. So thank you so much, Jonty, for doing that. Nasima, thank you so much for putting all of these comments in. It just makes my job easier. I get to focus on Dr. Wallach and the callers and the people writing in. So the next question that we have for you, Dr. Wallach, is we have a female that's 59 years old, 106 pounds, 4'11", and wants to know, what do you recommend for excessive hair loss?
Okay, well, like all things, hair follicles require nutrition to make hair, maintain the hair they create, okay, and provide the proper color of the hair, okay. And I see teenagers with white or silver or gray hair. Well, that tells you they have a real serious deficiency of certain particular nutrients. And these are the kids that die of ruptured aneurysms and that kind of stuff because aneurysms are caused in arteries by the same deficiency. Varicose veins are caused by the same deficiency, okay? And so when you see, I'll speak to an audience, I'll have maybe 500 people in the audience, I'll see 50 of them with white hair. I already know their problem. They're in the 5th and the 8th and the 10th row, and they've got white hair. I know their problem before I even talk to them, okay? And so once you begin to, excuse me, deal with these things, you can see, they're wearing shorts or a swimming suit in the swimming pool, and you see varicose veins, you already know what the problem is. You don't even need to ask them, okay? You just see it. And so this is the advantage that you have over what people didn't have 100 years ago, for a couple of reasons. Number one, they had more access to minerals because of the wood ashes back 100 years ago, but also the DVDs, the CDs, and the books and things weren't available, and these great Zoom sessions that you guys put on weren't available back then. So this is a tremendous way to share information and to help people out. Thank you.
I'm having fun. So, and I'm honored to be able to get it with you every Friday, and be able to speak with you face to face. It's fabulous. So next we have Jana, and her question is, if you do get on a strict gluten-free diet, how long until the gluten damage in your body is reversed?
Well, that's a very good question. And I say, give me 90 days, but I'll give you an example. Again, I have people who have not urinated in 10 years or on dialysis 6 days a week, and we put them on a gluten-free diet, and we get them on the Healthy Brain and Heart Pack, we get them on the Ultimate Daily Classic tablets, and in 2 weeks' time, they're urinating. Okay, after 10 years of not urinating, just in 2 weeks' time. And then in 6 weeks' time, they're totally off of dialysis. They've been on dialysis for 25 years. They've been on dialysis 6 days a week for 10 years. And so even with dramatic long-term disease that required really enormous intervention, because that patient didn't want to have a kidney transplant, so they had to have all this dialysis. And it didn't matter, just by giving them the right stuff, getting rid of the bad foods to maximize absorption, in just weeks after 25 years of being on dialysis, it all went away.
That's incredible. I love it. I love it. You give your body what it needs, the raw ingredients, and it can do some miraculous things. Absolutely fabulous. So Carol has a question. Do you have a protocol for TMJ?
Oh, sure. Well, TMJ is just sort of an arthritis of the temporal mandibular joint. Yeah, the jaw joint. Okay. And if you have TMJ, you got stuff going on in your shoulders and your knees and your back and your hips and your ankles and your elbows. You got it everywhere, right? It's not just in your jaw, but that's, you can hear that popping and clicking. It may be painful when you chew your food, kind of thing. And there's probably other signals, but you know, got to get rid of all the bad foods to maximize absorption. You want to take 1 Healthy Brain and Heart Pack per 100 pounds of body weight, 3 of the MSM twice a day per 100 pounds of body weight, vitamin D3, 3 of those twice a day per 100 pounds of body weight, and the glucogel, 5 twice a day per 100 pounds of body weight. And if it's painful, we can use our CM cream or our Soothe, SOOTHE, from our Hemp FX division. It's a CBD oil with other herbs and things added to it. So these Soothe, you can just spray it on there. We also have a trauma oil from our aromatherapy oil division, TRAUMA trauma oil. I like to put 5 drops of the trauma oil either on our CM cream or our Soothe Hemp FX topical pain reliever, and put it on the TMJ joint. And within 5 or 10 minutes, the pain goes away for a couple of hours. So you want to take it, say, a half hour before dinner kind of thing, a half hour before breakfast, half hour before lunch, and you know, put it on that TMJ joint. But after anywhere from a couple of weeks to 90 days, you've rebuilt that joint, but you cannot go back to eating the bad foods. You cannot give up taking the 90 essential nutrients because your food still won't have it in there. Otherwise, it'll slip back to a percentage of what your problems were.
All right. And one note, the bus driver, he's a retired rancher and is now driving the bus for the kids here in our small community, told my husband, tell Becca she can be my witch doctor anytime. I gave him a little bottle of that CM cream with some of that trauma oil in it. He had major surgery, reconstructive surgery on his neck and spine, which I could have helped him with if I knew about it.
Mm-hmm.
And he said yesterday he was pain-free and he slept better than he had in 4 months.
Wow. You
So
get an A triple plus.
that was an incredible testimony of somebody that had never heard about you, that I was able to share. Now, Rob W. does say he remembers he does have one more question. So, Rob, go ahead and unmute yourself. You're on live with Dr. Wallach.
Hi, Dr. Wallach.
Hi.
Ever since I been listening to you on Coast to Coast AM, I've been taking a lot of vitamins. And my question, or what's always been on my mind is, are there any vitamins or minerals that should not be taken together? Because the ones I'm taking now is like vitamin C, 1,000 milligram, vitamin D, Gluten, vitamin E, and some collagen pills too as well.
Okay, you're making a couple of mistakes here. Number one, you're taking individual nutrients instead of taking the entire 90. Okay?
Okay.
It's kind of like having a recipe for a famous dish of some kind. It has 35 ingredients in it, but the only ingredient you really like is one. So you only put one in that cake pan and you leave the other 34 ingredients out. Okay, so you have that issue going on. Also, the second mistake you're making is you're going to a store and you're buying individual nutrients, okay, instead of taking the entire package. And so I urge you to try for 90 days, get on the Healthy Brain and Heart Pack, and whatever secret sauce you need for whatever issues you might have. You know, we have stuff for blood sugar issues, we have stuff for joint, helping the body rebuild the cartilage and ligaments and tendons. We have stuff for kidney issues, heart issues of all kinds, thyroid, parathyroids, brain, you name it. We got secret sauces for all these different issues, okay? We take people that have had 14 liver surgeries because they had such terrible liver cirrhosis and they had their bellies all full of fluid. Their liver at that point was the size of a slice of bread, and it should have been the size of a small watermelon. And so we put them in our program, and just within 90 days, their liver regrew itself to the size of a small watermelon. Okay, our tissues have an enormous capacity to rebuild themselves, but they need all 90 essential nutrients. And I say it's probably human to try and piecemeal things. I don't want to spend $130 a month. I'll just, buy $6 worth of vitamin C and $2 worth of vitamin D and all that kind of stuff and see what I can do here. And then you're not going to get the results you're looking for. In the meantime, you can get a fracture, something bad, worse can happen, and so forth, get a blood clot. And so you remember that we're doing two things. When you take the 90 essential nutrients, number one, you're taking the nutrients you need to help reverse an issue you have, but also you're taking nutrients to prevent things from happening. Why do we put paint on a wooden house? Well, it depends, to prevent the wood from rotting. Why do we put paint on iron rails and stuff like that outside the house? Well, to prevent it from rusting and gradually getting bad and going away and breaking. Okay, so you have to look at these nutrients as a way of adding 25 to 50 years to your life, okay, because you're going to be preventing all these things that are preventable. You cannot just cherry pick individual nutrients and expect to get maximum benefit. Because, for instance, how many nutrients does your thyroid gland need to function properly? 90. How many nutrients does your liver require to function properly? 90. How many nutrients does your kidneys need, or do your kidneys need to function properly? 90. And so how many nutrients does your bones need to maintain themselves? 90. What if you just take calcium? Well, my doctor said I can take Tums, okay, which has calcium in it, and I can just take 3 of those Tums twice a day, and that's all I need to do, and that'll prevent arthritis. Well, that doctor should go to jail. Your bones require 90 essential nutrients. And especially you need to be off of gluten and all that kind of stuff, plus take the 90 essential nutrients. Just taking Tums and going on with life and expecting to get maximum benefit, is unreasonable. So I hope that answers your question, because I like to answer the question completely, and the question you ask requires a more complete answer than what I think you were hoping for. Okay, Rebecca.
So I can contest to that, Dr. Wallach, because I used to watch TV and these TV doctors, and they'd say, okay, you need this for this and this for this. And it was just a single nutrient. And I never got any results until I found the 90. And within 2 weeks of being on the 90, there was amazing things going on and reversing what I had going on.
Yeah. Well, what they're saying on TV and on the radio and to their patients, individually in their offices, would be the same as your mechanic telling you, you know, your car is burning up, the engine's burning up, the red warning lights on the dashboard. They're saying, don't waste your money putting oil in your car. Well, this is my Jaguar. I mean, this is my dream car. I mean, I love this car more than I love myself. What's the best oil to put in there? Don't waste your money putting oil in that car. Just put dirt from Texas or Oklahoma in there. There's bound to be some oil in it. An insane person would flee from that place and tell everybody, don't go to that mechanic. He'll burn your car up because he says, just use dirt from Texas or Oklahoma because there's bound to be some oil in it. That's the same as your doctor saying, oh, just eat well, you're going to get everything you need.
Nope. Things don't synergistically work together unless you formulate it to do so. So, again, if you have any questions that you want to write in and ask Dr. Wallach, if you're not able to or don't want to get on live with us, go ahead and respond to the email that you received about this call, askdoclive.com, and we can get these questions answered for you. Now, the next question that we have, Dr. Wallach, is how many ounces of water should one drink to prevent dehydration? Now, I shoot a gallon.
Go ahead.
I add something to it. So please share with us.
Okay, well, that depends. Are you a sedentary librarian? Are you somebody who works out 3 days a week and you're a long distance runner? Is it somebody who works 8 hours a day in construction and you're dealing with heavy lifting and work and you're just sweating like a pig? At the end of the day, your clothes are like you jumped in the swimming pool or so wet with sweat. You have to appreciate, and this is kind of a backwards way to answer your question, that the average lifespan of professional athletes of all sports combined is 62. Except for basketball is 51.
That's not very old.
No, well, somebody who does everything wrong, eats gluten, doesn't take vitamins, minerals, the average lifespan in America is 75.4. Okay, so why would somebody who does everything wrong live 20 years longer or 25 years longer than a professional basketball player, you know, with a $35 million contract? Okay, because they're not sweating. Why do people who live under the bridge eating dog food live longer than rich people who eat caviar? Because dog food is a complete nutrition with all 90 essential nutrients in it. Caviar only has a couple. Okay, so that's sort of beginning to answer your question here. So it depends on what's going on. That's why we have our rebounder sports drink with 100 nutrients in it. We have it in the 12-ounce cans. We have it in the little individual servings. You can tear open the top, put in a kind of a quart bottle of water, and they come in boxes of 30, those little sticks we call them, 30 little envelopes. And then water, I'll say I will drink 4 to 6 glasses of water a day plus my 2 cans of my Rebound. Okay, and for breakfast, one of my 2 glasses of water will actually be, I like to eat, I like to drink the tea. Okay, I like to drink various herbal teas.
So you can include the other liquids that you're drinking throughout the day, but you don't want to count your carbonated drinks, correct?
That's right. If you're drinking, you know, like soft drinks, Coca-Colas and things like 7-Up and Pepsi and that kind of thing, they neutralize your stomach acid, which then mess up your digestion, okay? And you're going to get reflux, a lot of burping and belching and stuff like that. And your stomach starts swelling up with all the gas because the carbonation neutralizes your stomach acid. So your bacteria are able to flourish there and generate a lot of gas because they're fermenting the food. Okay, so you got to stay away from those kind of things.
All right. So next, Dr. Wallach, we have James, who is 80 years old, 210 pounds at 6 foot. His hearing has deteriorated over the last 10 years. He has arthritis, glaucoma, tinnitus, hiccups. The audiologist says he can fix this with a $6,000 set of hearing aids.
Okay, he should sue that audiologist for fraud. Okay, because this is James, right?
Yes.
Okay, James has severe osteoporosis of the skull. The hiccups are caused by a squeezing of the recurrent nerve, which is a branch of the 10th cranial nerve, the vagus nerve, which actually controls your diaphragm. And so when it gets squeezed, that diaphragm is bouncing up and down all the time, so you get the hiccups. Okay, and then he weighs 200 pounds. So I would have him get rid of all the bad foods, and I'd have him take 2 healthy brain and heart packs per month, the full dose of everything twice a day. I'd have him take 3 of the MSM tablets with each meal. That'll be 2 bottles a month to pull that off. He needs 3 of the capsules of our vitamin D3 with each meal. That's 3 bottles a month. He needs 2 bottles a month of the capsules of the glucogel, so he can take 5 with each meal. And all those things will rebuild the cartilage, the ligaments, the tendons, connective tissue, disc between the vertebrae, pelvis, skull. Okay, the tinnitus will go away. His fading vision will repair itself and go away. The hiccups go away very quickly. And, the sciatica, the low back stuff, and all the leg stuff, and all the shoulder and arm stuff goes away as you rebuild the skull. And of course, it's all in your head. It's in this book, my newest book. Okay, so when you look at my books, I got 15 best-selling books. This was just a couple of weeks ago, was the bestseller, #1 bestseller on Kindle and Amazon ebooks. Okay, this is an ebook, or the hardbound copy here. Okay, goes into the 25 different diseases you get from osteoporosis of the skull. And doctors, just like this guy's doctor, his audiologist and so forth, they never talk about osteoporosis of the skull. They want to give him a $6,000 implant in his ear and hearing aids and all that kind of stuff, because he's got 3 sons to put through college.
It's incredible, that's for sure. So hiccups.
Okay, well, hiccups again.
I have a puppy that has hiccups all the time.
Okay, well, he has osteoporosis of the skull, squeezing the recurrent branch of the 10th cranial nerve.
And one thing, whenever we went to get him and we're looking at the breeder and the mom and the dad, I had this thing telling me, don't get him, don't get him, don't get him, because they did not look healthy. Mm-hmm. And I knew what they were eating, and I'm thinking, okay.
Were they feeding the dog their food, or?
No, it just wasn't a very good quality food that has a lot of filler in it. So, but I love
the what was the filler? What was the filler? Probably oats, which is gluten.
Gluten, wheat, barley, whatever. But I love epigenetics, Dr. Wallach, because you've proven that we can reverse things through diet.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So that was the only thing that kept me from not getting him. Because he's adorable. But still.
Yeah, well, if he's still there, you want to go get him, just say, give me a severe discount here. Just give him to me. I'll take him off your hands. Okay.
Oh, he's here. He's gone from 8 pounds to 50 pounds. And he's 4.5 months old. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's here. Okay. All right. So next, Dr. Wallach, and I want to remind everybody, all of the products that Dr. Wallach is mentioning here, you can find
Excuse
at
me,
Ask Doc
Rebecca.
Wallach.
Now you're giving that dog Arthrodex, right?
I am giving him Arthrodex.
Okay. Yeah, yes. that's our multiple for dogs and cats. And of course, you're going to give him the EFAs. Wouldn't hurt to throw in some. Does he still have the hiccups?
Not as much as he used to, but
okay,
I'm
we'll throw in
thinking
some MSM.
I need to give him some more Arthrodex and include that MSM. And yes, the perpetual, the wafers, they love those. Absolutely.
Very good. Yeah, it'll all go away.
Yeah, I have no doubt. But we have a lot of people asking questions about their pets. And I love the fact that we have that Arthrodex, we have the perpetual that we can add. And all of this was a response because people were giving the 90 essential nutrients, the healthy body pack with the Beyond Tangy Tangerine and the OsteoFX and the EFAs to their pets. So I love how Youngevity just meets people where they're at and provided a formula specifically for their pets. So thank you, Dr. Wallach.
Remember, I'm a veterinarian as well as a physician.
And I was just going to say, especially since you started out as a veterinarian. Yeah. So
A lot of my patients, when I first started, you know, and they'd come to my clinic to be a human patient for me, and they'd see my degrees on the wall and say, "What's that DVM thing?" I said, "Well, I'm a veterinarian as well as a physician." And they said, "Oh, you treat people like dogs." No, that's true.
But they get better.
But they get better.
But they get better. Yeah. Okay, so before you had mentioned about the individual that was in a coma and, you know,
8
was on
years.
the tube feeding. We have a question that's come in, and the question is, what do you give through the tube in the hospital for a patient on a ventilator, has been for 2 weeks, had COVID, but now he doesn't, but he has holes in his lungs now and is on dialysis at 68 years old?
Okay. Do we know what he weighs?
We do not. So let's go
Okay.
by 100 pounds.
Let's go by 100 pounds. Needs to get rid of all the bad foods, right? But in this, what we need to do is replace their little oily meal replacers, okay, with our protein shake. But instead of making the protein shake with water as the direction, say you need to make it with heavy cream, okay? 3 doses a day into the G-tube, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Then also needs the de-stress capsules, 3 of those with each of those meals. That's 3 bottles a day. The Ultimate Niacin Plus, 1 with each meal. That's 3, or excuse me, it'll be 2 of those bottles a month. Ultimate Niacin Plus. It's also going to need the MSM, 3 of those with each meal. That's 2 bottles a month. The MSM needs the let's see here. Oh, the Ultimate Daily Classic tablets. Ultimate Daily Classic tablets. 3 of those in each of those meals. That's 3 bottles a month. And the vitamin D3, 3 of those in each meal. That's 3 per month. And then they need to scramble up very, very soft in butter, very, very soft in butter, so they're runny. 3 eggs that go into each of those shakes and blend them up with, you know, one of these blenders or beaters or whatever you want to call them, and then give it to them 3 times a day. Okay. And after 8 years of being on a ventilator, being fed through the G-tube, in just 3 days' time, this guy wakes up. He thought he was only asleep for 1 day. He didn't realize he'd been in a coma for 8 years. He gets stressed, goes back to work at the bank as a bank officer. Freaked everybody out because nobody there at that point was there when he went into the coma 8 years earlier, and they thought he was a clever crook trying to claim he was a bank officer so he could rob the bank.
That's crazy. That's crazy. So Dr. Wallach, I had an email come in, and apparently this person is also on the call as well. And Sandra is wanting to know, she has a daughter, 7 years old, that was born with strabism, and dad actually was born with strabism as well.
Okay. They'll have to tell me what that is.
Let me see if I can look it up real quick.
Okay.
But Nasima, I think, had another question come in as well. So Nasima, did you have another question that you wanted to ask while I look that up?
You know, go ahead and look that up, but actually that's the same exact question that Sandra B sent to me privately, and I sent to you privately. So it's the same exact question on this strabism, which I have no clue what it is.
Well, yeah, well, I know it's strabismus. I know what strabismus is.
Yeah, so I looked up in strabismus. So
Okay.
the wandering of the eye, where it turns in or out or goes up.
And she said, Doc, she says that she's had it for 7 years. I don't have her weight or height or age, but that her father had it since birth, since he was born.
Yeah.
He was born that way.
It's not genetic, okay? It's a osteoporosis of the skull, squeezing the 3rd and 4th cranial nerves, which control the eye muscles. And sometimes they call it lazy eye, strabismus, where the eye's moving around, wandering around all the time. That's because the skull is squeezing the nerves to control those muscles. So babies can be born with osteoporosis of the skull because it's not a disease of aging, it's a disease of nutritional deficiency. And babies are born, okay, with osteoporosis of the skull because the mother had a gluten problem wasn't supplementing, stayed on gluten. The baby didn't get enough nutrition to develop properly, so the baby's born with all these issues that you usually see in 70-year-old people. Osteoporosis of the skull, squeezing those cranial nerves. And so this is where you need to have the parents of those kids get this book, and it'll freak them out. We'll say, well, yeah, that's my kid. Okay. Well, that's because the kid's got osteoporosis of the skull, squeezing those nerves, which control those muscles to the eye. And that's why the eyes are either lazy, wandering, and so forth. Okay.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Wallach. Next, we have Linda, who has a male client who is 75 years old, 180 pounds, 6 foot tall. He has a problem taking the Beyond Tangy Tangerine, the 2.0, the Ultimate Classic, because he's very sensitive to preservatives and tomatoes, and they give an anal irritation. He does take the MSM, curcumin, some vitamin C, some D3, but not the 90 essential nutrients. He was diagnosed with squamous cell carcinoma in his upper chest and has been very difficult to find a supplement routine that doesn't irritate his skin or anal area. What are your recommendations?
Okay. Well, since he says it, irritates his anal area, this could mean many things. But basically, he's got to get rid of all the bad foods, fried foods, processed meats, oils, glutens, wheat, brown oats, and sugar. And then you say this guy weighs how much?
He's 180 pounds at 6 foot.
Okay. He needs 2 healthy brain and heart packs per month, 2 healthy brain and heart packs per month. He needs the MSM, 3 of those 3 times a day. That's 2 bottles a month, the MSM. I'd have him take the glucogel, 2 bottles a month, so he can take 5 with each meal, 5, 5, and 5. And then I also want him to have some things to support his immune system, since he has a skin cancer, the squamous cell carcinoma. Okay. So I'd have him take the pollen burst with the SOD in it, the grape flavor, drop dead gluten free. He could take 2 servings a day of that. He also should take the Cell Shield RTQ. He could take 3 of those twice a day. That's 2 bottles a month. And lastly, I'd have him take the BTT 2.0 tablets, 2 bottles a month, take 3 twice a day. Now the tablets do not replace the powder, okay, because the powder is vitamins and minerals and the tablets are antioxidants and anti-inflammatories. They should have given it a different name, because a lot of people say, well, yeah, I've been on the tablets, for 6 months and nothing's happening. Well, that's because the tablets aren't going to give you the vitamins and minerals. They're an antioxidant, okay? They're for things where you need to tamp down free radicals, which you have when you have cancer. But you got to get rid of the bad foods, because it's the bad foods that cause squamous cell carcinoma.
Okay, so the irritation, I don't know if it's like irritation with the skin around or if it's irritation with the bowels. But with the preservatives, is there something that he can add, like a digestive X or something that would help with that?
Well, he could take the ultimate enzymes if he wants, say 2 of those, 2 minutes to 5 minutes for each meal, a couple ounces of water. But you have to appreciate that doctors of all kinds, whether they're an herbalist or a earth muffin who decides they're a healer, or a PhD pharmacist, or a medical doctor, or a DO, or a veterinarian, a lot of times when they don't know what you got, they will say, well, you have allergies to this and that and the other, and you have sensitivity to this, that, and the other. Well, get rid of gluten and take the 90 essential nutrients, see what happens to all these problems. They all go away.
And I have to agree with that, Dr. Wallach, because I didn't think that I was gluten intolerant or had any problems.
Well, nobody does, because they have their favorite pancakes and waffles.
Cinnamon rolls, homemade,
well, yeah,
fresh
yeah,
ground wheat.
Yeah, and they love to go to Spaghetti Factory 3 nights a week.
But I gave you 90 days, and I can't believe what a difference it made. So I encourage everybody, give Dr. Wallach 90 days on the nutrition, get off gluten.
And Rebecca, please don't waste, whatever you got, the flour, the cinnamon buns, whatever you got, your cereal, your breakfast of champions, Wheaties, don't throw it away. Don't give it to some poor person. What you want to do is give it to your doctor with love.
With love, with love.
Yeah, it's like the James Bond movie.
I missed that episode.
To Russia with Love?
Oh, all right. To Russia with love. Well, with love being the close of this show, we just want to thank everybody again for joining us. We do love you. We appreciate you. And, you know, being empowered, taking control of yourself, investing in yourself, that's one of the best forms of love you can show for yourself. I just thank you again. And yes, it's all in your head, Dr. Wallach's book that you can find at drjwallach.com for all Dr. Wallach's publications, but also some of his most popular ones. Jonty has made available at askdoclive.com, along with all of the products that Dr. Wallach mentioned here today. And remember, cherry picking is not the way to get your 90 essential nutrients.
Mhm.
Nutrients and supplementation are not created the same. And I absolutely love how Dr. Wallach's formulas synergistically work together with all the cofactors. And it just, you give the body the raw ingredients and amazing things happen. I love it. So again, I want to thank you, Dr. Wallach. Thank you to my co-hosts, Nasima and Jonty McCollier, and for helping me out with the chat and letting people in. It was an incredible day on this 9/11, a day to remember and not forget. We just thank you all for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. Thank you, John T. Thank you so much, Nasima. Thank you, everybody, for getting on and giving us questions. We love you all. God bless, and share the message.
Yes, absolutely. And again, we do have people that are standing by on our call team. So if you want to speak with somebody, please feel free to give them a call at 855-949-7234. That is our call team. And you can also respond or do a reply to the email that you received about this call with your questions as well. And Jonty, what did I miss?
What did you miss? I don't know that you missed. That was a fantastic episode, and I'm really proud of everybody. We're getting rather organized at this.
Mhm.
I really want to. I do want to mention to the distributors in our audience what a neat thing it is to be able to say to somebody who comes to you with a concern. You can say, I'm not really sure about that one. Let me ask Dr. Wallach in the next meeting. It's a wonderful advantage to have. And I hope you all do the most with it.
Absolutely. And you can even invite your clients to askdoclive.com to sign up for their own invitation, or they can jump on here with us and ask their questions. And for the distributors that are on, because I know there's a few here with us, convention is going on. It is not too late to get your ticket. You have not missed out on anything because they are going to be having replays. You can go to youngevityconvention.com and get your ticket there. And I know we have a couple more questions in the chat. Dr. Wallach, if you wanted to go ahead and sign off, you don't have to hang around with us because I know you've got other calls coming up.
Yep.
So thank you so much. We appreciate your time and have a fabulous day.
Thank you, dear.
All right. All right. So let me go through and see. Yes, Dr. Wallach is priceless, Joseph. I totally agree with you there. And let me just scroll through the questions. They all came in so quickly. I want to make sure that I didn't miss anything. They're coming in as public and also private. Nasima, did you see any questions that we missed? So I know
Yeah.
Carol had a question in regards to dementia for somebody
Yeah,
that's 5'1".
there was that one question on the dementia.
Yeah, and
Rebecca,
Dr. Wallach was pretty thorough at the beginning of the show.
right, with the brain and heart. And, you know, with respect to everybody's time, you know, Rebecca, just to note, I know we've got so many moving parts, but just so you know, it's about 6 after the time. So, you know, I want to thank everybody, you, John T., Dr. Wallach, and everyone for attending and carving out 2 hours of your day and attending this very precious call. Do share it with others. Listen to the recordings. Don't worry about taking notes on answers from Doc when you're asking your questions, because you can always listen to the recording and have the luxury of pressing pause, stop, rewind, forward, so you can take notes at your own time as well. And you know, Rebecca does a wonderful job in mentioning the websites and phone numbers in the call. So even though you cannot do the copy and paste of chats, you can listen to the recording and get that information jotted down very, very quickly. So thank you again, everyone. Yeah, I'm with you, Rebecca. The dementia was covered in depth by Dr. Wallach, and even in our previous recordings.
Yeah, and you can go back to the previous recordings. This one will be up shortly. John T. I don't know how he does it so fast, but he gets it edited and posted on that AskDocLive.com within hours of us ending here. So please go back and you can refer to that. You can also, you know, either as a customer, as an individual, just for knowledge, you can go back and listen to those recordings at AskDocLive.com. And it's convenient because everything that Dr. Wallach mentions can also be purchased at that website as well. So again, that's AskDocLive.com. For people who do not already receive our newsletter or want a copy of the 10 Good and Bad Foods, you can also request that there, and it will be emailed directly to you. And you can get reminders of these calls sent right to your email. So you can sign up for that as well. We know that, you know, people don't want to miss things. Sometimes those pop-ups can, you know, be reading and something pops up. Well, it's there for your benefit. If you've already signed up for it, awesome. Just hit that X and then keep on going. So again, thank you everybody for joining us. I don't see any more hands up, and I don't see any more questions in the chat that were not covered already through today's program. We thank you so much for joining us. Have a fabulous rest of this day, fabulous September. We will see you next Friday as well at 8 a.m. Pacific time with Dr. Wallach. We look forward to seeing you. Bring your questions and have just an absolutely fabulous day. Bye for now.